It has often been said that Corvette enthusiasts come for the cars, but stay for the people. For many, those people become friends and then family. One of the very best examples of this is our 2020 Corvette Hall of Fame inductee, Dr. Mike McCagh. Mike was the oldest of 9 children and the very first to buy his own car, a 1949 Chevy Coupe. Although Mike is known today for his passion for preserving the originality of cars, this first one wasn't quite fast enough for him, so it would get some serious modifications.
My first car that was titled my name is that 49 Chevy sitting over there. It had a 216 cubic inch 6-banger in it when I got it. Took me about a month to destroy that motor. I got a 60 Olds 394 and that made that sucker run.
Mike's car would become the one to beat. And as it turns out, the one that beat him was a 1957 Corvette.
One night there was a 57 Corvette Fuelie here in town, and it had a reputation of being an extremely fast car for the time. So we locked horns one night and he beat me. He jumped me out of the hole and I couldn't catch him. I could see his taillights. I was within a car length of him when we crossed the finish line. But I always admired that car, and the appeal of those taillights really got to me. So I went down to the Chevy dealership. And I think it was $17 for a pair of NOS 56.7 taillights, and went home and chopped the rear quarters on that 49 and installed the 57 taillights.
Mike would go to medical school and start his practice as a dermatologist. But when his workday ended, the fun would begin in his garage.
I used to look at the Pittsburgh Press every Saturday night for Corvettes. And that white one came up one day for $950. So I told Lee, I said, I'd really like to have that Corvette. And money was tight then.
But he told me if I left him get that car, he'd never get another one. I think he's on this 36th Corvette as we speak.
Then in 1974, he heard about the newly formed National Corvette Restorers Society, and he knew he had to be a part of it.
Some of the guys that belonged to the classic Chevy Corvette Club weren't happy with the way the originator of the club was running the CCC. So these 7 guys were the founding fathers of NCRS. So I joined, and I'm member number 14.
Mike's knowledge of the Corvette became legendary as he helped others with advice and direction.
You know, everybody talks about Corvette's an icon. He's an icon. I mean, he's done so much for the hobby, it's unreal. He's just helped everybody. I mean, I've known so many people that, you know, I need this part or I need something, and hey, call Mike. If he don't know, he knows somebody that does know, and that's just the way he was.
Mike has opened up this farm and his car collection to NCRS members for years. And I can remember coming out and helping Mike with at least, well, actually helping other people, NCRS members, restore the cars. Mike wouldn't restore the car for them, but he would teach them, you know, what to do, and you know, he educated them on the process of restoration of the cars. I can think of 3 cars, NCRS members, that did frame-off restorations in Mike's shop.
Mike would become a judge and begin writing judging manuals.
Our goal is to either preserve them the way they left the factory or restore them to the way they left the factory. And you know, we judge Corvettes from 1953 clear up till 2005 now, I believe and there's a judging manual written for each division. The 53 to 5 division's got a judging manual. The 56-7's got a judging manual. And some of those judging manuals are an inch thick. They're really detailed in how that 65 Corvette left St. Louis.
It's the holy grail of the Corvette industry. Everybody goes to the NCRS tech manuals. He's been really instrumental in them, all of them. Everybody's 57s, 54s. He's done them all. Without him, the information be lost.
He would even serve as president of the NCRS. just about the time when talk about starting a Corvette museum was beginning.
My tenure as president was a rocky time. Some of the NCRS members thought the formation of a museum was a good idea, and some didn't. And eventually, though, NCRS contributed some dollars to help form the museum.
He later told me that he thought we were foolish and that we were throwing money against the wall. That isn't the exact terms he used, but for purposes of this, I think it'll do. He just didn't see it being a viable institution at all. But he did agree to the initial funding of the $2,000 to get what was then called the Library and Archives Committee 501c3 status. And of course that status allowed us then to collect more money in other ways.
I can remember when Dad got to be president of NCRS. I don't know what year that was, but
I don't either.
you know, at that point I realized, okay, you know, to me he was Dad, and he obviously could fix anything that ever broke. But I guess that grander scale of seeing, okay, he really knows his stuff on such a level that he's been recognized. At that age, I was like, okay, he's really special and really knows his stuff inside and out. You know, people would come and ask any question, and without consulting a manual, he could give you how many millimeters, you know, the socket would be to fix the problem.
He passed along his love for the automobile to his children in a very special way.
When each of the kids turned about 15, I said, go over to the barn or the garage and pick out something you'd like to drive when you turn 16.
At the time, I thought I really wanted like a '68 Camaro, but we had this old convertible. It was at my uncle's house being stored in a garage, and I wanted a convertible, so it was a pretty easy sell.
And we took it to the garage and tore it apart and sanded it, painted it, put a small block Chevy in it. And then she drove it all through high school. Casey chose the '49 Chevy.
When we pulled that out when I was 14, it was a wreck, that car. I mean, it had dust on it, flat tires. We pulled it up into the garage over there, and I was grounded a lot in high school. So Dad and I worked a lot on that car, that 49, together in the garage. And having restored that car with him has given me more work ethic than anything else. You do it right the first time, and that's one of the things I learned from Dad. If you're not going to do it right the first time, don't do it at all. I still have that car, and I'll have that car forever, but it is definitely a symbol of childhood, and it's it was important to Dad, and it was important for him to instill those values in all of us that you need to work hard to get what you want.
And then Marcy, she chose a '47 Chevy, and we put a small block in it with a power glide. Our son Mike, I got the brilliant idea to build a '57 Chevy extended cab pickup. It's a neat looking little truck. So all four of them, they were involved in the building of these cars. And I always figured that if they had to do a little elbow grease to build these cars, maybe they'd take better care of them than I did my first car.
For Mike, it was always family first, and this included his Corvette family. He was always up for having fun with the cars and making memories.
Well, we did a lot of trips with NCRS, which was really fun. It was like our second family. You know, we always looked forward to those trips, and it was even better when we were old enough to drive.
And we never went on vacation as kids unless it was around an NCRS convention or a dermatology convention. They would coincide with each other, except that Anaheim one. That was straight out Route 66.
When we went to Anaheim in '91 or '92, I was pulling a trailer with that white '57 in it, and a couple of the girls were driving a '90 ZR1 that we had just picked up. And Chrissy, the oldest, she was driving a '54. So we had, 3 motor vehicles on the road to Anaheim, out and back, and I think we were on the road something like 3 weeks.
So we're coming back from this hellacious cross-country trip.
3 weeks.
And we were like, we just got to get home. Like, this is outrageous. So hot. Where by then we're all on each other's nerves. The Tesla tape was stuck in the thing so we could listen to one song over and over and over again.
Tesla.
And Dad, this trailer, it was one of the original
It
trailers.
was the wooden trailer.
The back two doors, you know, when they shut, they didn't shut real tight.
It went like
so it
this.
was constantly. So we're behind it the whole way. We're like, that thing's gonna blow. I mean, it's
gonna blow.
No way. And all of our luggage was behind the car, so we're like an hour from home, and they were ahead of us. And we pull up, you know, because we were in the big line of people. We pull up and we're like, what in the hell is all over the road? And out of the corner, I'm like, oh my God, that's my luggage. It was this black and hot pink bag that we had.
Body glove.
Yes, and Christy and I actually both had the same bag. But when we pulled up there, we saw the bag, and I was like, oh my God, that's not mine. And it was all Christy's.
She was madder than a
so
hornet.
Bad. Oh my gosh, we get there. So we have to clean up the road. We get there. We get home, we empty the car and all of our stuff. My brother's toiletry bag had tire marks on it. It was crushed, gray flannel, cologne.
Yep.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that was a good one.
But of course, we get home, and it's great. It's hilarious.
When road tours were in the East, they would go out of their way to stop at Mike's place in Maryland, and Mike would host the road tours for dinner or a lunch, as was appropriate. And him and Leah would put out quite a spread for us, and we'd fill up one of their fields with Corvettes.
They had an event here that was for 3 days, and people would come and bring their families. It was a big family outing, and they would judge cars, and we would have a corn roast and crabs, and sometimes a band. It was really fun.
Mama hated diesel so bad.
A lot of memories have been made here at the farm and traveling with Mike, you know. And I think, as an NCRS member enthusiast, he's a legend.
In my mind, Mike is NCRS. He is looked up to this day for information, for inspiration in how to do this, you know, how to restore them.
Well, Mike absolutely belongs in the Hall of Fame, mostly because he exemplifies a hobbyist, a true hobbyist. One of the things that's happened over the years in the Corvette hobby is it's become less of a hobby and more of a business. Years ago, none of us had the money to do that. The cars weren't worth very much. They were simply used cars. And we all thought we were hobbyists because that's all there was to it. You spent money on the car, you never thought you were going to make any money off of it. And Mike is that kind of a guy. He still is of the mindset that whatever he does with the car is to advance the knowledge and to exemplify the way the factory built it, as opposed to sell the car to somebody and make a profit off of it.
Probably don't deserve to be on the same level with the Zora and Terry McMahon, and well, everybody in that has done a heck of a good job promoting Corvettes, so I don't know that I deserve to be with them, but I'll go along with it. Looking back on my life as a Corvette enthusiast, I suspect that involvement with the family, the 4 kids and the wife Lee, is the top of the list. And then preserving quite a few C1 and C2s from the boneyard, and helping NCRS members preserve their cars.
It was important for him to instill those values in all of us, that you need to work hard to get what you want. And we look around this place, but he's humble as can be.
That's the best thing he gave us.
Yeah, was to be humble and help others.
Yes, absolutely.
And work hard, and if you want something, you go get it yourself. It's not going to be handed to you. So we're very fortunate that, you know, we can call him Dad.
I love him to pieces.
You know, man of few words, but certainly thrilled, and really warms my heart to see all this recognition.
Come
out
and tell
there.
him, yeah. And we're all taking odds on his speech for the banquet. And the number one is Thank you. Sit down.
For being a true example of what it is to be a Corvette enthusiast, and for all he has done to pass along that enthusiasm to so many. We proudly welcome Dr. Mike McCagh into the Corvette Hall of Fame.